gives me the creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Aspires to be better than I
Come on. It's gonna be fun. 5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life!
A phaser? You didn't use it?
Swords are fun.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Welcome back to another Retrek review, where each week we talk about Star Trek, and this week we're talking about episode 25 of Star Trek The Next Generation's first season, and that episode is entitled Conspiracy. It originally aired May 9th, 1988. It was a teleplay by Tracy Torme, whose name we've heard before. He has done teleplay of Haven, and he wrote The Big Goodbye. It was a story by Robert Sabaroff. That's a name we've heard as well. He wrote the teleplay for Home Soil as well. It was directed by Cliff Bole, and Cliff Bole has also directed Lonely Among Us and Hyde and Q. The synopsis for Conspiracy is, after Captain Picard receives a dark warning from an old friend, the Enterprise D returns to Earth to stop an alien invasion from taking over Starfleet Command. We had several guest appearances. We had Henry Darrow as Admiral Savar, the Vulcan Admiral. We had the return of Ward Costello, who played Admiral Gregory Quinn from Coming of Age, as well as Robert Schenken as Lieutenant Commander Dexter Remick. We had Ray Reinhardt as Admiral Aaron, the other admiral in the episode, Jonathan Farwell as Captain Walker Keel, Michael Berryman as Captain Ricks. And now Michael Berryman, a famous horror actor. He probably most famously is known for being on the poster for the 1997 film The Hills Have
Eyes.
But he's also in a couple of the Star Trek movies as well as kind of like background character aliens.
That's cool.
He was the Bolian in the episode.
Oh.
And then Ursuline Bryant as Captain Tryla Scott. So that is the introduction to the episode, but before we move on to supporters of the channel, let's ask Caleb, what did he think of the episode?
It was great. Yeah, this is a good episode. It's so off the beaten trail so far. Yeah, I couldn't help but like enjoy that it was different and like a little bit of a horror twist to it. I thought that was good.
Yeah, it was certainly very, very crazy.
It's a crazy episode. It's good. I can't wait for nothing else to be like this.
No, you would have no reason to ever think that.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good.
Good.
I think it's one of the best this season, honestly.
So here's the big question. What would you rate it?
Definitely a CUDA.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Single Akuda.
It's not like top Akuda. It's not top tier, but it's definitely,
You liked it.
yeah, it was good. Am I alone in enjoying this episode, or is this like too crazy for Trekkies?
I honestly don't really know. how the fandom takes this episode.
Hmm.
I am a general fan of the episode
Yeah.
solely because of what you kind of just touched on. That it's like such a massive departure from everything in season one. And
Yeah.
like, we'll get into it. There's some stuff in it, but it's so like, I don't know, it just kind of puts the entire season on its head and just like,
Mm.
it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It has a very like movie quality feel.
It does. Yeah. It could be its own standalone Trek
Could.
movie.
It really could. Well, before we get into the review of the episode, first, right off the bat, ooh, thank Ed Markstar for his Patreon support, for being a member and being our chief engineer, and keeping an eye out for all those little bugs. We do routine little checks in the back of the neck, and Ed Star always comes up clean.
He's always wearing a scarf, but that's all right.
Yeah, we don't yet. So, with the benefit of being a Patreon supporter, you get your comment read during the review. But if you do want to hear your comment read in general, make sure you find our Healing Frequencies Open series where we tackle comments in general. But this is a special Patreon privilege to have it read during the podcast review. So, Ed Starr says on our We'll Always Have Paris podcast,
Mm.
he says, for conducting unauthorized experiments, Dr. Paul Mannheim was banned from the Federation Science Institute. So, as someone whose activities can alter reality, Dr. Mannheim gets to freely relocate to and construct a laboratory on an asteroid cloaked by a force field. But who cares?
That's
What's really important is reuniting with an old flame and dreaming about the road we didn't take, the life we didn't make together.
yeah. Yeah. They're both concerned about it too. That's my favorite
Oh,
part.
yeah.
Hmm.
He says Star Trek takes a time dimensional accident idea and buries it under a poorly written romance story. Seems like a missed opportunity to put sci fi at the head of the Star Trek buffet table. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. It's pretty lame.
It's always one of those funny things that I always think about is that anytime, like I said, or anytime I see like the thumbnail or the title, or I catch a
Yeah.
clip of it on TV, I'm always like, "Oh yeah, this is a cool episode," and then but it's only because of the time stuff. I
Hmm.
like totally check out and forget like all of the holodeck stuff. Like I know it's in there, but I forget how egregious it is.
Yeah, the time stuff was really good, but like, yeah, the rest of it just is such a so convoluted, stupid like storyline. And it's a bummer because it's like I want to see more of Picard's backstory in history, but like better,
Yeah, not like
like
this.
handled better. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your comments in general. We are going to tackle them in the other series
We have other comments, but hailing frequencies are closed.
right now. But we appreciate Ed's support as always. So now, without
Yeah.
further ado, let's get into the review. I thought Jordy's joke coupled with Data not getting it was pretty funny.
Yep.
And then the
Yep.
forced laughter, that was good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is that the episode could be bad, but like Data is so great that it makes it better, you know?
Yeah.
Even like we were just talking about like we'll always have Paris.
Oh yeah.
Data's fantastic in it. So we'll always have Data.
It's very true. It's very, very true. The sequence that also got me laughing was Troy is like, have you ever gone swimming in moonlight? Data's like, you can go swimming in moonlight. She's
Yeah.
like, Data, you know what I mean. I'm talking about swimming like in the light of the moon. He's like, oh, and it's like, what about you, Lieutenant Worf? He's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
What's
When
a
they
robot?
pan over When they pan over to Worf's face, he's like, "Oh my God, no."
He says, that's a lot like bathing.
You know his stance on Klingon traditions from when he was two. Deeply rooted, deeply
Deeply,
rooted.
deeply rooted. We know Worf so well.
Yeah. Well, that's how, intense the Klingons are. Like from the age of two, the whole culture is you
Oh,
got it.
totally.
Know it well. Know it well.
We talked about it, but I like that blinking light when Picard is talking
Yeah.
to Captain Keel. It's just like, we're just going to keep reminding you that you are on a secure frequency under code 47.
I know, and then the other guy, he doesn't have a blinking light.
No,
So
he's fine. Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't matter. He's safe.
Yes, and it made me laugh too, was every time he would talk, the guy's eyes would get like really big. He's like, but you're not listening to me, Picard.
Yeah. That guy looked deranged.
He did look a little deranged. Thought it was funny that when Picard comes back up to the bridge from being in his quarters and like Troy knows he's being secretive and it's like kind of subtle. It's like he's weird, but it's like also kind of subtle and she's the only one to pick up on it.
Mhm.
And then he just becomes painfully secretive where he's just like, what day
Mhm.
to figure out this planet thing? And then he goes and figures it out. And then they're like, what about it? And he's like, don't ask any questions. Don't talk to him. And then he like hides in his ready room, and then they're like, "Okay, we're here." They're like, "There's three other ships in orbit," and he's like, "Don't talk to them." They're like, "Oh, but don't you?" He's like, "Don't, nope." And he's like, "I'm going down to the planet." They're like, "Well, don't you want to go?" He's like, "No, I don't want to go. Anybody to go with me?" No. They're like, "Oh, okay." And then when he comes back up, and it's like, "Hey, did you run into so and so?" And he's like, "Nope, not at all. Don't know who that guy
Yeah,
is."
he says no, 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 no. And then she's like, "Oh, I would have liked to have seen him." And he's like, "No, it's not it wouldn't have been possible."
Yeah.
Like, so you did see him? No, no. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
No, but I didn't have enough time to tell him that you said hello. It's just funny too that the episode starts off like, "All right, everybody, we're going on shore leave. We're going to the beach." And everyone's
Yeah.
like super happy about going on to the beach. And then
Yeah.
Picard comes in, he's like, "Cancel the beach. Cancel it."
No more beach. Well, those are the part two. It's a thing where like retroactively it's such a waste of time, but I get like in the moment you have to explain it. Data is like looking up the information about where Captain Keel wants to meet. And so like he's sitting there and he's looking up all the stuff and Riker's asking him questions and then you get the funny scene where he's like, it's a ball of mud, it's a big hunk of junk, it's all this stuff. And he's like, okay, yeah, I got it. But it's like it literally amounts to nothing. It's like there's no real reason to get all of that information. He
Yeah,
goes
you don't
down to
need
the
it.
it's like he goes down to the planet and talks with these people and then just leaves. It's like what the planet is, the history of the planet, why the planet's in the state that it is. It's like it doesn't matter, really, not. So it's just
Yeah.
funny.
I know it's really stupid.
But you were a keen eye. I didn't even pick up on it or think about it. You were like, is that a Bolian? And I was like, it is a
Yeah.
Bolian.
Well, it's only because I've drawn so many of them now.
It's true. It's just really funny. You were quick on it, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, it is Bolian.
Yeah, and I was like, see, I know stuff. I know Star Trek stuff. I know all the blue ones.
I know them all.
I know Bolians. I know Andorians.
Uh-huh. More, more, more. I think the sequence where Captain Keel is like, Picard, where did we meet? And he's like, why are you asking me this? He's like, tell me where we met.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh, we met on like Tau Ceti 3 at this bar.
The
And he's
dwarf moon of Endor 5. What the hell are you asking?
right. And he's like, yeah, great. And he's like, and then that's when you introduced Jack to Beverly, and he's like, you know that I
I
didn't do
never.
that. Like, you did that. And he goes, well, actually, it was my brother. And he's like, you don't have a brother. You have two sisters, Anne and Marie, or whatever he says. And then he's like, what is happening? But I liked the acting choice of Jonathan Farwell because when Patrick Stewart like rebuttals with, I didn't do that. Like, I didn't introduce Beverly to Jack. You did. And he's like, he does this thing where it's like he feigns and then says, in actuality, it was my brother who did it. Like, kind of like playing off, like, oh, Picard's safe, but he did make a mistake. It was really my brother. And then Picard's like, no, that's not true either. And I think that's like really
Mhm.
smart writing and directing and acting because that's a type of sneaky type of way to see if somebody's lying is to
Yeah,
kind of
I
be
enjoyed that.
dismissive and also like lighthearted about it.
It's also one of those things where he looks crazy.
Yes, yes.
So Picard is like super confused. I mean, I don't always like to see the captain like super confused, but I think that's what I enjoyed about it mostly is that the whole episode Picard just seems like really confused by what's going on.
Well, I think like ultimately in this scene, Captain Scott says it, but like Picard practically refuses
Yeah.
to believe that like Starfleet is compromised and that they're being like evil. He's like, okay. And then they tell him all this stuff, and he's
Mhm.
like, it's a lot of conjecture and it's a lot of like speculation.
Yeah. Because
They're like,
Starfleet's never done anything bad.
no, never.
No, they're great.
And then they name some people that have died, and he's like, he is suspicious, but it's not enough for him to like become a traitor, essentially. I mean, really, they're asking for treason against Starfleet, and that's a crazy thing to ask somebody out of the blue. Like, it has been leading to this, as we've come to find out when they reintroduce Admiral Quinn and Remick. But
Yeah.
like in Picard's mind and also as the audience, like this is out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like they don't have any proof of anything
Right.
because Data's the one that finds that like, oh yeah, there's been some weird shifts in command that nobody's seen. And it was like, okay, well, that's what makes sense.
Yeah.
But like they didn't have any of that. They're just like, oh, something weird's going on. Like they call you here, breaking command, into the red light room. They ask you all
Yeah.
these questions weirdly, and then it's a big like, oh yeah, Starfleet's really bad. We need to destroy it from the inside. Anyway, catch you later. And then he goes away from that, and he's like, I think they're the weird ones. I think something's wrong with them.
Yeah, he pretty much is just like if it wasn't for the fact that it's like one of his childhood friends telling him these things, like he would be like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm good. Like, whatever this is, you got it.
You also caught it too when they say outer rim. That was funny.
Yeah, like where Mos Eisley is.
Yep. With the pod racing.
Now this is Starfleet.
I did think it was nice to see a woman captain. This is post Janet Lester episode, Turnabout Intruder, where she was upset that women couldn't be captains in Starfleet. So
Mm.
far down this, Janet Lester.
Yeah.
There she be.
Yeah, it's just so stupid that like finally here you go, like here's a captain, like a female captain. But like, oh, she she was the first one that was infected by an alien. Don't worry about
Oh
it.
yeah, yeah. So overall, I think we kind of briefly talked about it. But did you like or dislike that Captain Picard was dismissive of like the meeting overall?
I kind of liked that he was like I think he was just so confused by like what they were even suggesting because like it was so vague. Like who knows? They made it sound so vague, like they didn't really rally him.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, a couple of high command, like people have died. It's like, okay, what? How? Ah, I don't know. But I bet you it's Starfleet doing stuff. Like, okay, you're gonna need a little bit more to go on than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of like it.
Yeah, well, good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how exactly I feel about it. I do think it's played out really well, and I do think it's written very well for it to be convincing. But it's also like maybe it's just because I have eyes of I know where the episode goes, so I'm always like, of course you would believe him. But I think if I
Mhm.
was watching it fresh for the first time, I might be like, What is
Well,
actually happening here?
the problem for me too is that my three captains are Pike, Kirk, and Archer. So it's like they're not super like in they're not gullible, but they're not like in the dark on things. I don't know. So it's hard to see like Picard and like wanting to like him as a captain. And then you
Mhm.
have episodes where he just is kind of just like, well, I don't know. I don't know. Could be anything,
Yeah.
and I think that's just getting familiar with the character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, when Archer first went into space, he also was very like, I don't know how things function in space. How would you?
Right, 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 right.
But I think at this point in time,
Yeah.
there's stuff that's happened in history, and sometimes I feel like Picard is just very much like, well, I don't know, I don't really get this. So I would like to see him start being better. You know,
No, I agree.
that's just me. I don't know, but that also makes him human. So
It's tough because like Picard is a big departure from like a lot of the captains.
mm. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah,
I like
just
I
of
like
note.
Picard. He's just different. That's all.
Yeah.
I just want to see him be that, in control,
Yes.
knows more than you. He's a captain in Starfleet. He's smarter and that's all.
He definitely will start to shine as the show goes on. Do you think that he should have told Troy like he did? Do you think that that was a good play or not so much?
I think he should have told the crew more than he did in general. Because it was like need to know only. And then it was like he's like, okay. He like cancels the trip, then he goes into his ready room. And then he
Yeah.
comes out and Worf's like, hey, there's a bunch of Starfleet ships here. They're not answering. And he's like, oh my God, don't talk to them. This is a secret thing. Like, what are you doing? Why are you talking to him? It's like, how would I know that? Like,
Yeah.
aren't we supposed to communicate with ships when we come upon ships? Isn't that like protocol?
Yeah.
No, this is a covert mission.
Then he comes back up and he immediately takes Troy in the ready room and he tells her like his suspicions and then doesn't tell anybody else like anything.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
It's like I like it and I get it like she's a counselor and talking, but it's also like
Mhm. If it was her and Riker, I'd be
yeah,
better. I'd be a lot
yeah.
better with it.
Yeah, I almost feel like instead of Deanna, he should have told Riker and have that scene play out with him. But it also does kind of lend to how much Picard like trusts and relies on Deanna. Like we as the audience don't really see that, but you see as the character, it kind of writes to that.
So it just to me, it always feels like they're just giving her something to do, And I don't want to feel that way.
I know.
It was like I made
It's
that joke in the beginning where she's all excited about going swimming, and then he comes in, he's like, "No more swimming. We're not going to the planet." And it was just like I made that joke, like, "Oh, I feel sadness,"
oh
because like, what else is
yeah.
there?
I didn't write down the specifics of it. Oh, I think maybe it was when Picard was like, and you, Lieutenant Commander Data, I have a job perfectly suited for you. And Brent Spiner kind of like smirks. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, mm. Like Data showing emotions.
Well, he shows emotions in the end of the episode. He's talking to himself.
Yes,
That's pretty good.
that was a good scene.
I enjoyed that.
So pretty crazy that the Horatio gets destroyed. That was a pretty crazy scene where they come upon the
Hmm.
flotsam.
Yeah, I appreciate that they had the you know gumption to blow up a Federation ship like that.
Yeah. Well, this is the halfway point, so go down to the comment section and write flotsam. The Data pleased with talking to himself was pretty good,
I did like that.
followed by the computer requesting him to stop explaining himself was pretty
I
good.
did like that. I enjoyed that the computer is still Mrs. Roddenberry. I
Mrs.
enjoy that.
Roddenberry. Yep. I
Yeah,
thought
I like
Picard,
that.
yeah, me too. She does the computer voice really well, and yeah, it's a funny sequence. It's a funny sequence. They're
It's pretty
definitely
good.
using data like a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the scene where Riker and Picard learn from data all of the like changes that have been happening, all these like they're moving people around and doing all these things. I thought that they had that was a pretty decent sequence with them. I remember Riker was like, "Well, I mean, it can't be that bad." And then Data's like, "No, it's pretty suspicious." And it's like, "Well, what?" And then Picard's like, "Well, speculate or theorize what this could be leading to." And he's like, "An invasion." I'm like, "Oh
Like, oh
no."
wow. So he's like, I don't want to speculate. I'm like, no, just speculate,
Yeah,
you know.
speculate.
Oh, full scale invasion. Oh my God.
Now, I know that you're burned a little. I know you're singed,
Mm,
but was there any part of you that enjoyed seeing a Vulcan admiral?
no.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Not 1 ounce of my being. I just don't care.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
don't know. I mean, yeah, like it's cool to see, Picard show up and do live long and prosper, and there's the Admiral guy, and he's normal, but it means nothing, That's the problem. It means nothing.
Yeah.
But that's, and it's like I don't need to see Vulcans to be like, oh wow, look how advanced Starfleet is. Like Vulcans are admirals and stuff. It's like, well, yeah, there's a Klingon on board the Federation ship, so
Yeah.
I'm not too concerned about like
Yeah, not
how
freaking out.
progressive
Yeah.
the Federation is now at this point.
It honestly is like really funny that like a Vulcan of all species and individuals is like surprising to see a Star Trek.
Well, and that's the thing that sucks about this too. And that's maybe where, you know, being jaded because now it's like you finally show like a Vulcan in charge of something and you're like, "Oh, he was taken over by this worm thing." And
Right.
you're like, "Why? Like how?" It's like, "Well, what do you mean? He's a Vulcan." Like, "Well, yeah, so he's has heightened strength, ability, senses,
Right.
all this kind of stuff. How did this happen?"
Right. I agree.
Like I don't believe that he would be manipulated by
Yeah.
anybody. I feel like he would see it coming, but that's just
Maybe
me.
he's a real stupid admiral.
It would have to be.
He's
Most of
not.
them are. Most of them are.
Maybe his logic ways have departed from him now that he sits behind a cushy desk.
Hmm.
Okay, so they show the shot of them and when they get to Earth, right? And there we
Uh-huh.
see Gregory Quinn, who I know you remembered him so well from the other episode.
Gregory. Yep.
Do you remember Remick? You remembered Remick, but were you surprised
Yeah.
to see him in the episode?
I remember like, oh yeah, I don't remember liking this guy, but I couldn't place him.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. He was the one doing the investigation.
Yeah,
And then, yeah, the old guy was Picard's friend that was telling him like, "Hey, something's going on.
right.
I want," but I thought that was taking place on the training facility.
Yeah, it was they were in orbit of that place. Yeah, but he was still on the Enterprise doing it.
But I mean, that's what he's told him was like there he wanted Jean-Luc to become like a teacher trainer on that planet and help him like figure out what was going on
I think back
like
at
that
Starfleet,
base.
I don't think where Wesley was.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, I can't believe they set this up back then. I would have enjoyed that episode probably a little bit more.
Well, yeah. So we as the audience don't know this, right? We think this too because that's what you're being told from Picard is that Quinn is on our side. And then they cut to the scene where we see the wiggling earworm scorpion bug thing in the case.
Yeah, that's never good.
And then it backs it, you see a close up of it, and then they close it, and it's Quinn. Quinn has this weird bug, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, Quinn isn't. He is
He's
compromised, and so is
he's not
Remick.
good.
And then he beams up to the ship, and then we get that sequence where he comes off the transporter and he's in the hallway. Picard basically confronts him like, "Hey, so I'll tell you now why we came to Earth. We came to Earth because of the stuff that you had shared with me back so long ago." And he's like, "Oh, Picard, I was
Oh
just nervous
yeah.
about bringing species from the galaxy together."
Oh, performance reviews, all that kind of stuff.
Right. And then you see Picard kind of have this face of like, "Oh,
Hmm.
okay." Like, got it.
Yeah. I like that scene too when he's like, "Oh yeah, Riker will go with you. He'll get everything you need all
Oh.
set up, all set up." And he's like, "Oh, all right." And he like walks away and he like grabs Riker and he's like, "Don't go with him. You're not doing anything for him."
Yeah, and then when he brings him to the transporter room, he's like, "Okay, you're gonna get Beverly to do a medical scan." And he's like, "How do you expect me to get the Admiral to agree to a medical exam?" He's like, "I don't know, just do it." And he's just like, "What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know? If you don't know, how do I know?"
Yeah, he's a senior. He's a senior admiral. Like
Yeah.
he outranks me, Picard. Like I can't do anything about this. It's funny too because like one scan would show that he has a parasite wrapped around his brainstem.
But then also in that scene, the he just says it in front of the transporter chief with carrying.
Hmm. That doesn't matter.
We get many multiple shots in this area where we get to see San Francisco Starfleet, which is nice.
San Francisco. Yeah, I've seen it before, but I think this is the first time I remember seeing like the actual Golden Gate Bridge and
Yeah, I can't quite remember, but yeah. We both were laughing when Admiral Quinn turns into Chuck Norris,
oh my
doing all
God.
these high kick like roundhouse kicks. And
Oh yeah.
is it
Uh,
Austin Powers? Is that what it is? Where he like jumps up
Judo.
and he's like kicking in the air. He's like kicking him in the head. He's like, oh, and it's going like
Yeah,
bucket, a
it's
bucket, a bucket, a bucket, but it's like with his feet. I think it's Austin
mhm,
Powers. Yeah, that was a fun, crazy sequence because then
pretty great.
he
It's
throws
pretty
Riker
great.
around like a whole bunch, and then Worf and Geordi come running down,
Yeah, they're no help. No help at all.
and then he's like, "Okay, I'll see you later." And he's like, "No, you can't leave, Admiral. We have to check you out." He's like, "No." He throws him through the doors, throws Geordi through the doors, and
Get your
then
hands.
yeah, like
Be
now
gone.
Klingon, show me how much you like it.
Yeah,
We get some
it's pretty fun.
classic Doctor House, where the Doctor comes to the rescue. Blam! Yep.
Oh, it hurts.
But I won't stop.
Oh, my shoulder, my other shoulder.
What did you generally think when he shows the little nubbin
L-
bug thing?
Little bug dude. I think the bug is cool.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good design. It gets a little wonky towards the
Yeah.
end,
Well,
but I still enjoyed it. I still enjoy it. I like it because it's practical. Practical is always
I think it's a cool
better.
design. It's interesting, right? It's interesting.
The first thing I
Yeah.
thought too is that like the thing really reminds me of the bugs that Khan had in that jar.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, well, that sounds like the perfect time for trivia.
Oh, not again. All right, now you're overacting.
Well, writer Tracy Torme, adapting a story from Robert Sabaroff, had hoped to make Conspiracy a commentary on the Iran-Contra affair.
Oh, here we go.
But this potentially controversial notion was nixed. A plot by Starfleet officers out to undermine the Prime Directive, which was introduced in Coming of Age, turned out to be the result of an infestation of alien insects, not part of Torme's original approach.
Not a part of my original vision.
No, not at all. So the episode was critiqued by Maurice Hurley, and Tracy Torme says, I wrote this thing called Conspiracy, and I was intentionally trying to shake things up and do a different kind of story. Maurice came back to me and said, it's not Star Trek. It's too dark. It's got a dark ending. It's unhappy. It's this and that. And he turned it down. Somebody overruled him. Maybe it was Rick Berman, but somebody loved the script and thought it's exactly what we should be doing. But Maurice and I had a very bad relationship from that point on.
Well,
The original version of the script did not feature alien parasites. The conspiracy in question was simply a military coup within Starfleet. But Gene Roddenberry vehemently opposed such an idea, since he believed that Starfleet would never stoop to such methods. There was just no way Torme could get away with suggesting that the Federation was anything less than a perfect government. Thus, the alien angle was introduced at his insistence. Now,
mhm.
to be fair, this might be one of the few times I agree with Gene Roddenberry.
Whoa.
He founded the whole thing to be that like humanity is past all of this, and that's like one of the core things of Star Trek and the Federation and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
It's like I get it, I get what he's saying. He doesn't want that, but
you got to come up with some new ideas, man.
you got to come up with some new ideas. Yeah,
I agree with you. I agree with you on that. This like infighting with all
yeah,
these like different alien people now, like two like in charge, like it's
yeah,
too much. I've seen
yeah.
it. Seen it all.
The ending in Torme's original script had the threat of the parasites definitively ended. But Robert Justman felt this was too anticlimactic and suggested ending the episode with the implication that the parasites were the vanguard of a much more powerful threat.
The Queen.
The Queen. So I could tell you right now, we never see these things
Mhm.
again.
Good.
So as you've notated many times in our Star Trek watches, first and last.
Good. They leave on that cliffhanger though. Somewhere out there, there could
Now,
be a whole hive. These bugs swarming through galaxies.
they do supposedly have like books and stuff, and there's some other things. I know they're in Star
Hmm.
Trek Online, but nothing ever from the TV show. So I put this down because I thought you would appreciate it. Jonathan Frakes states that during the dinner scene, grub worms did cross his lips.
They were coated in
Metamucil.
Metamucil. There you go.
He loves it. He got addicted to it after being drowned.
Couldn't go without it.
Here is some pictures.
Oh yeah, I sure can. Oh my God. They did have a bunch of dead ones on him, though. They
Yep.
kept that. That's good.
Yeah. So this is Andrew Proberst's concept design of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, look at that. I think way at the bottom it says March 4th, 1988 is when he drew it.
Um,
Mama Bug, he calls it.
yeah, that's a good name.
And then we have this.
Oh my God. That's cool.
So they said that the parasitic beings were fabricated by Makeup and Effects Laboratories, headed by Alan A. Apone, following a design from Rick Sternbach. They also said that the chair in which Remick is seated is a redress of the wheelchair used by Admiral Mark Jameson in that Too Short a Season episode that we watched where he's an old man and he
Oh
ages
yeah.
backwards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
It's
then,
very much just Pike's wheelchair.
oh yeah. And I'm not sure if I'll have to censor this for YouTube, but
Ooh.
there's Dan Curry.
Oh my God. That's really funny. It's
There is
pretty
a-
gnarly for the 80s, you know?
Yeah.
It gave me a Nazi's face melting
Oh.
vibes. You know?
Well, here you'll like this. A
Mm.
mold of Paul Newman's face was filled with raw meat and then blown up to create the effect
Oh.
used when Picard and Riker fire on Remick. But
Hmm.
Rick
Hmm.
Berman and Peter Lorreson were concerned it was too graphic. So
Yeah.
Dan Curry here in this picture invited his 6-year-old son to watch the episode in order to test how children would react to it.
Yeah.
The boy reportedly liked it so much that he suggested the creation of a Remick action figure whose head would blow up by pressing a button. This resulted in Rick Berman, deciding to air the episode uncut with the full sequence included.
I always love how these like Hollywood executives and stuff are like, oh, but the children, what about the children? They'll think it's too scary. And then like you show a 6-year-old this and he's like, this is awesome. Can you guys like make like an action figure where like I can blow his face off in my own room? Like, my God, these children.
And then finally, this episode won an Emmy Award in 1988 in the category Outstanding Achievement in Makeup for a Series, which
Well,
namely was awarded to Michael Westmore, Warner Kepler, and Gerald Quist.
that's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, so we come back from trivia and we get that nice little wiggling spine on the neck.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It was a thing where I always think, like, how does nobody not see that? But then I
Hmm.
realize the people seeing it are already infected, so it's not really a big deal.
But like early on, nobody saw it.
And it's also like when he beams up, when Quinn beams up to the Enterprise, you would think it would be like the biofilters or like the transport chief would be like, there's
Nah.
not human DNA like in this thing, like there's something wrong. But
Yeah.
maybe the things can mask themselves or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I did think though, ultimately we get that brain scan of Quinn. I thought that was cool.
It's
That
pretty
was
good. The brain scan's pretty good.
yeah. Then it's just chaos.
It is chaos.
It's just pure wonderful chaos where they cut down. They have Picard sit at the table. They bring the monkey brains. They bring the
Shield monkey brains.
yeah. They bring those to the table and they pop the lids off. And it's simple mealworms. They don't even look really that gross. It's like
Dig in, Picard, unless you're not one of us.
and then he goes to get up to leave, and Riker stops him.
The Riker fake out was good to
Oh,
me.
okay. Because he comes over to Beverly and then grabs her.
Yeah. Because you didn't really know if he got the bug in him. So I thought that was good. I thought that was a pretty good, like, quick little misdirection there.
Oh yeah,
Kind of assume, but
of course. Well, I think finally Riker gets the payback for getting dumped in the goo and getting trapped by the drone and getting electrocuted by the drug addicts. Like he finally gets retribution. He's like, "Here we go, I'm gonna eat all these worms." Psych, no, I'm not. Blah. And they're all like,
yeah.
"Scatter, scatter. He has a phaser." Yeah,
Our only weakness,
you were laughing
orange
so
light.
you were laughing so hard when that guy was running down the
That
hallway.
was pretty funny. Yeah, that
I
was
kept
pretty funny.
looking back, and then they were like, "Psh."
We kept looking back to like wait to see like when they were gonna shoot for his command, for his.
"Yeah,
Are you gonna shoot yet?
keep
Oh,
running farther." Yeah,
nothing.
and then I legitimately didn't know how you were going to react because it's over the top and goofy and fun doesn't
Yeah.
mean you're going to like it. It doesn't mean that. And it was one of the things other than Tasha's death that I was really trying to keep under wraps. I was hoping nobody in the comments said anything to you, nobody, just nothing. Because legitimately that little bug thing going across the floor, up his leg, onto his shoulder, into his mouth,
Uh-huh.
his throat like throbs and like pulses, and then they shoot him. He slumps back into the thing, and then his skin vaporizes and his head explodes. And then this insane,
Uh-huh.
I don't even know, like spaghetti monster comes out of his gut and is like, and it was the thing you said when we were watching it. It was like, yeah, the screaming and stuff. Remember when you were like,
Yeah, it's literally like what we always joke about,
yeah.
like happening before my eyes.
It was everything you would always wanted to see from Star Trek. And they were like, "We got you, buddy. We got you. Here you go." It was
Yeah, it was great.
it's just insane. It's literally insane. And there are a couple like legitimately I can think of two other things in Star Trek that are like this graphic
Yeah.
to this level. And it's crazy that the other two are from movies.
Well, yeah, I mean, as soon as I was seeing it, like I was like, whoa, this is pretty crazy for like television in the
Yeah.
80s. They're not holding back on this one.
No, no. I think one of the best things that I will always enjoy going forward was now that I have it captured was just you like holding your head like this and like
Yeah.
just watching your mind like explode over and over again as it just like the insanity kept ratcheting.
Yeah, it just keeps ramping up and my brain just keeps leaking out.
You're like, there's no way he's gonna eat that bug. He's like, oh, okay, yes, he is.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, yeah. And then he was like, oh, there's no way he's gonna like explode. Oh, yep, he did. Yeah, yeah.
What's
So
the matter, Captain?
he says we seek peaceful coexistence. I'm sure you do.
I'm sure. It looks like it.
So I legitimately, you know, I want people to talk about it in the comments. Let us know really like what you think of the episode. The homing beacon thing at the end is great, but obviously it goes nowhere. It's very reminiscent of the Star Trek
What's the
Enterprise episode.
it's the mantra that Star Trek lives on, and it's the number coding system that they have for panels on the ship. Well, it's goes nowhere, does nothing.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. I brought it. I brought
This
it
is a
back.
GDN episode.
Yes.
As I say, the homing beacon is very reminiscent of that Star Trek Enterprise episode where Archer's crew encounters the Borg,
Mm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then they stop it, and then it's like, well, did get a chance to send a message out into space. It's like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, it'll take several hundred years for it to get where it needs to go, but
Mm-hmm. Hey, we're kind of approaching that timeline in
that's
this.
that's weird.
Interesting. I doubt they do anything with it.
Nah. Well, this won't be the last time I talk about this episode, but it definitely will be the last time we deal with the bluegill aliens. So, that's the end of the episode of us talking about it. But before we conclude the episode, let's do the thing that everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb? Caleb, Caleb, Caleb.
So, Caleb, who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable?
Is his name Rennick?
Remick?
Remick, yeah. Yeah, I still don't like him.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's gone.
Ends up playing out well because he has a queen bug inside of him. So
I can't believe they played that through like that. That's pretty good.
I
But yeah,
think
he
I think legitimately they both of them get compromised between coming of age and conspiracy. I think they're normal people in
yeah.
coming of age.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think they had this master plan then.
No. Well, good. Next is the Elizabeth Cutler Award for being the most forgettable.
Give it to Wesley.
Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, what the
Not
heck?
not seen in the episode. You're
The
right.
boy genius doesn't know how to handle bugs, huh?
Yeah. No appearance by the boy. Too scary.
Too scary. He must have been breaking the law by kicking balls into fences somewhere else.
Next is the Mugatu Award for the best alien of the episode.
It's obviously this queen,
That queen.
Queen Skitterbug.
Well, that's the thing. Do you like Queen Skitterbug or do you like Little Skitterbug?
I like the little Skitterbugs more, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah, all right. That's what I thought. I thought so.
But I felt like it would be a cop out if I didn't say Queen Skitterbug.
No. The Queen Skitterbug is just supposed to be a horrifying monster mess,
Monstrosity, yeah, which it is. So
which it is, and they achieve that very well.
they did it.
But the little guys crawling around are interesting.
Yes.
Next is the Trip Tucker Award as the MVP of the episode.
We have to say Data.
Wow, Data. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one that figured it out.
True, true.
Although
I thought
that
you
was
were
a
going to
trap
say,
the
I thought you
whole
were going to say
time.
Riker, but yeah, okay.
Nah, right here got his butt kicked by an old man.
He did, but he did come. Remember, he comes in with the fake
Yeah,
thing.
but he's supposed to.
Okay, fair
He's
enough.
he's number one. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's Data or Beverly because they figured it out.
No, we go with your OG choice. Data is a good choice. I like it. He has a lot of good scenes in this episode, especially early on. Next is the Spock Award for the best line of the episode.
I really enjoy the line when the Admiral is telling Riker, he's like, "Oh, we found this alien. It's undocumented." And Riker's like, "Well, I don't know anything about it." He's like, "Oh, you'll know. You'll all know." It's like very ham-fisted,
Oh yeah, totally. It's really over
You'll
the
all
top.
know soon.
Yeah, because then remember later too, he adds when Worf comes in, he's like, "I could snap your neck with just a flick of my wrist, but there's no
Yeah.
fun in doing that." Yeah.
So say you, Klingon.
Yeah.
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 It's also funny too, later on when Riker walks into that like meeting and they're like, "Oh, you were supposed to be for the doctor." And he's like,
Oh yeah.
I couldn't avoid it." He came in and started asking all these questions, and it was like you had the box open when he walked in. And
Yeah.
then it was like, "Oh no, it's nothing, it's nothing, it's nothing. Just ignore it, ignore it."
And then he also
And
was
Riker
like,
was like, "Okay, all right, well we can head down to medbay now." And he's like, "Oh no, I have to attack you." It's like, "But you were going down to were you okay?"
I
So
do agree with you.
you didn't have to do it.
Right. I agree with you. But this bleeds excellently into the next award, which is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
It's obviously when they explode Renning's head.
I knew it was going to be, so it was like it's like there's no way he's gonna pick anything else but that. Yeah, that sequence where that guy's head explodes is
It's up there. Yeah, it's up there.
all
Good
right.
job.
Well, next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
Starfleet Command in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting to see the Golden Gate Bridge. I've seen some Admiral rooms where the round porthole windows have a good view of the bridge, even though it's
Yeah.
very geometrically like not possible, but it's cool.
It
It's cool nonetheless.
is cool nonetheless.
They have this view of the bridge like Starfleet is up like above the bridge. It's like
Okay.
you can look out the window and see like kind of like a straight shot of the bridge. It's like that's not how
Hmm.
physics works.
Next is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
The scene where the skitter bug is going like up the leg is pretty weak compared to
Okay.
everything else.
All
It looks
right.
like it's just a claymation thing that they're just dragging on a string, basically.
Yes. Oh, sure.
But it looks good, but compared to everything else, it's like you can tell it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's yeah,
Because
that's a
him like eating it is gross
yeah.
and looks gross.
Yeah.
So it's just that
Well, lastly is the Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode.
when the queen comes out and they vaporize it.
Nice.
You can't destroy me. Vaporize me, and I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
She deserves to stand trial. Okay, so that was the award ceremony for the episode. So now it's your turn to let us know what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Did you want more of it? Or did you find this episode a conspiracy for season one?
Yes.
Let us know down below.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, the time has come. I'm sure Caleb can't believe it's actually happening.
This
Next
season,
week is the season finale.
I'm so excited.
And that episode is entitled The Neutral Zone.
Oh no.
So that is something to look forward to. Once we tackle that, we will soon be moving on to season 2, which will be so much better.
You totally baited me too. You were like, "Hey, so what do you think this conspiracy is going to be?" Like there was any way, Will, that I was going to guess. It's just the absurdity that happened.
Well, sometimes you've seen thumbnails, you've seen things. I wasn't sure if you had remembered the Quinn and Remick guy and had seen screenshots. Well, you might have picked up on it as Caleb and I were talking. We did a reaction video of this episode, which should have come out yesterday. So make sure you find it on the channel. It's our first time tackling such a thing. So be kind about anything that is wrong with it. Hopefully it's there. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. If it's up there, let us know how you like it. All those good things. It's not going to be a like every single week thing, so don't get excited if you super like it. It's just special episodes.
Mm-hmm. And if we do it, I know something's up.
I'll have to start throwing in like garbage ones so you don't know.
Like,
Absolute
why are we
trash
watching?
episodes. But as always, if you liked the video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And ring that bell so you can watch the episode as soon as it comes out. And then after this video ends, make sure you go over to Caleb's channel. He has a really fun, cool prop channel and also other various podcasts of him and I talking about other things like Mission Impossible, Dragon Ball, Star Wars, things of that nature. But Caleb can always let us know if there's something new that you should know about.
There should be a new video out.
Okay.
And if there's not, just watch any other video.
Yeah, I think in a couple days, I think Dragon Ball Z comes out, and that's about it.
Yeah, that one's actually scheduled, so I haven't even thought about it because that's ready to go.
That's ready to fly.
Yeah, that comes out in a few days from now.
Yeah.
That's a good one. When we're finally on Namek, so.
Well, the best thing to do is just to check out Caleb's channel, look for videos. But in order to do that, you got to like it, you got to subscribe, you got to ring that bell. And better yet, you might return to his channel if you leave him a suggestion to see if he makes it. So,
I do like suggestions.
So subscribe, you decide. We appreciate everybody doing the fun, excellent things down below. We thank Ed Mark Star once again for being a Patreon member and keeping all the bluegill aliens out of our mouths. And until next week, Caleb, send us out.
Computer, search for insect life forms. And end program. Hey, that's weird. The holodeck is still on Paris.
Oh.
You know what they say? We'll always have skitterbugs.
See you guys.